What is your breaking point? Well, I know I have a ton of breaking points. I might break right now from the stress of doing this podcast. But no, I probably won't because it's important to keep going. So this is the Jeskidding podcast where sometimes I say shit that's kind of inappropriate. And then I'm like, I was just kidding. And other times I say things and some light goes off in your head, light bulb. And you say, oh, just kidding. Okay, I summed that up pretty quickly. Let's see. It's available on iTunes and Spotify and YouTube. You can go watch it with my mom. She's a big fan.
Totally.
I got it all out. Guy, did I do a good job?
You did a great job. And,
Thank you,
and I have to say, we briefly brainstormed about the title or what we were going to talk about today. Yes. And Jesse actually was very, very intelligent for once. And he said...
for once.
He said...
I'm giving my breaking point. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, because I said, what triggers you? And he was like, no, dude. Trigger takes on a life of it, has its own life. We can't talk about being triggered.
No trigger points.
It has to be breaking point is still okay.
Yep, can't do it.
You know,
just like you can't say like, "Hey, I love that thing." Me too. You can't do that anymore. It's taken. It's over. That has been used for something of value and meaning. So we won't do trigger points today because trigger points, being triggered and trigger points, those are different things too. Being triggered is like, oh, that offended me, therefore I'm triggered, right? And trigger points are things that like are in your back and hurt your fucking neck. So I didn't want to cover it.
Or it might actually be fucking offensive.
Yeah, well, that's not uncommon for me in this stream. So, okay, here we are. We're talking about breaking points today. The topic is breaking points. Like when you hit that limit of something, we'll talk about different things, and you just can't fucking take it anymore, and you explode in some way. So we're going to cover a lot of different types of breaking points, but I'd like to go to you two guys and tell me about what is something that may cause you to hit that limit, and then maybe something quick about what happens when you hit that limit. Take it away, boys. Guy first. Okay, go.
Oh, okay. I'm getting called out.
Yes.
So, look, I'm, as like everyone likes to consider themselves like a well-balanced person. That's
not me.
No, I know you rejoice in being unstable, but this is why, when you look at the astrology in the morning in the newspaper or online, and if you even take amusement in that, and the point is like every description is of like a kind of fairly rational yet wonderful thing. So, in that vein, I consider myself, I like to always say I'm a stable, hard to anger or trigger or break person. But I have to say day-to-day life really brings around a lot more breaking points than you might think.
Tell me, do tell.
Well, this is very New York City centric, or at least maybe, anywhere with mass transit that everyone has to take. But I cannot keep my shit together on the train any longer because a lot of times the train is crowded. No one observes proper etiquette. Everyone's got these big backpacks. You just want to grab someone by the shirt collar and punch them in the face until they stop moving.
So you're a mild-mannered person. You're very nice. You're very controlled.
Yeah, I just described like a really
something fucking violent
on a stranger.
So have you almost reached this point being on the subway where you just like you were gonna fucking snap and then take some little twig lady, right? I don't know why I put a woman in that situation, but I was trying to pick somebody feeble, and that's not fair because some women are fucking buff. So some just feeble person of small stature and just snap them in half.
Yeah, except that I do have enough self-awareness to know that in any given fight, I am probably going to lose. So, it was actually, I think it was Monday or Tuesday, getting off the train, and this is phenomenon in mass transit is that everyone wants to get on because there's not much space, but then people have to get off at the same time. And so my special rage is reserved for people who step on the train, and then when you're trying to get off, look at you like you're about to attack them or abuse them, or the sensible thing is just walk away or step out of the car for a second.
Do you walk away?
Well, I kind of pushed myself through.
Oh, you give a push.
And it was actually a woman, and she was like giving me the stink eye, and she was with some friends. And then I'm like, and I did literally break out, and I try never ever to do this, and I'm usually not driven to this point, but literally started saying, I was like, you know what? You could just step out of the train for a second, and then I wouldn't have to bump into you. And then I'm like, oh, I'm a middle-aged white guy yelling at a bunch of
Did you?
Hispanics and black people, and I'm like, the optics of this are really awful.
Right.
And I'm also being an awful person right now because everyone's frustrated on the subway and everyone doesn't like where they are. So, lashing out, making that break was not actually
So you
helpful.
did. So you had a breaking
I
point.
did.
You said, I
I did
can't
have a
take this
breaking
anymore.
point.
Did you feel that breaking point came from the 1,000 or 10,000 other times that you went to the exact same fucking thing with people who are kind of like them? I'm not talking about racially, but people
No,
who
no,
are
no.
just in your way. You know what I mean?
Absolutely,
So
yeah, and that's a part of the claustrophobia of living in a large city, and or just any time you're in a crowd, right? I think crowd. So to distill this, being in a crowd makes me anxious and close to my breaking point.
right.
Well, I don't like to be packed in somewhere. I'm not necessarily claustrophobic, but if things are not in a controllable or people aren't all on the same level like mass transit, it tends to set
I'm
me
going to agree
off.
with you because I think that like there are things in a big city, and I can't speak for small towns. I'm sure there's other breaking points there that for me, after a while, and the train is one of them for me too. Like dumb shit, like state of the right. What
Right.
fucking play? How did they come up with state of the left? Like and shit like that, like social rules that stupid motherfuckers can't follow, right? Or people, what kills me and gets me to that point very quickly is people who just stand in the middle of the street. They just stand right there with their friends, and you can't get them around them at all, and they have no situational awareness. And I'm not saying I'm
Yes.
going to flip out, but I'm saying that like there are those little moments that start to pile up in a big city where that rage is fucking filling you, and you're just like, I'm going to flip the fuck out. And listen. One day, we're gonna tell stories, right? And I won't get arrested for this because this could be fictitious, right? Because who never know. Sometimes I'm just kidding. Sometimes I'm just fucking kidding. So
This allegedly happened.
allegedly, right? I was on the train, right? And I was sitting in one of these two-seaters in a corner, right? And you know that there's the way the poles are that separate you from the people at the door, right? There's like 3 poles with space in between them, right? So you know what I'm saying? Like, so if I'm kind of leaned against one of the poles, I'm tired. I hadn't slept just like last night, and lack of sleep gets me to the breaking point more quickly. And I'm leaning against this I'm like sitting there, my head's against it because there's not a lot of room. There's not a lot of people on the train, and there's this fucking fat lady, right? And she's wearing some sort of like silky shirt so that her fat is like coming out more, and she's and I have no problem with people who are overweight.
Thank you, Jesse.
You're welcome. I want to make sure that was clear, right? So she's so leaned against the fucking metal poles that her fat is seeping through the spaces in between and
it's
rubbing
absorbing.
against my fucking head, right?
Oh,
And I'm
yeah.
trying to sleep, and I didn't want her satin fat on me, right? So I fucking turned around and I poked the fat because I hit my point of fucking train experiences, and I said, "Lady, like you're fucking rubbing my head," right? And that was my minor train breaking moment story. It's a weird one, so I poked the fat. I'm sorry, lady out there, but you're
You
fucking.
gotta let her know somehow.
But bro, you know what I'm saying? She was like one of those fucking silly putty things. She was transforming to the the shape of the objects in front of her, like and bending around it with her fucking body fat. So. But this is like a big city breaking point thing that a lot of us go through, and we snap here very quickly. Even nice people from dumb shit. Like somebody bumps you in the street on the wrong day, and you have that. I'm at that fucking breaking point. So I'm sorry. So for me, like other things in my life contribute, but I'd love to hear from Redneck. What is one of your breaking point stories? Tell us.
Probably something that I would deal with like daily is there's kind of a list of things like in the gym that can make me get to a breaking point.
Ooh, I bet.
Tell us. Is it the guy who in the shower kind of leaves the door seductively open? I hate that guy.
No.
Oh.
No, actually, just
See, I live within
like that
walking
guy.
distance of my
Okay.
gyms. So,
Sorry.
like I never have to shower there.
Okay,
So I
fair
can just like walk back to my building.
Right.
But one of the big things that really drives me crazy is like not re-racking weights, like people that just like
Yeah.
leave all their weights laying all over the place. Like I had a guy just the other day that had stripped almost every dumbbell off one rack and just had him laying on a couple benches. It's like he had this whole section of the gym just for him, and then like between sets he's just chit-chatting and talking and shooting the crap, and then it's like, hey man, are you about done here? Yeah dude, I've got 2 more sets. All right, well I come back around 20 minutes later and the guy's still over there. That drives me crazy. And those are the things that like
And so you could snap.
build up.
You could snap on that moment and be like, hey, what the fuck are you doing? Do you
Yeah,
find
it's like on the wrong day I may do that.
Yeah, you may just flip out and fucking like dumbbell him with some fucking weight, bunk right in his fucking head. So, I mean, some of these thoughts are violent that we're gonna say. I don't advocate violence. I'm not saying you should ever be violent, but that's part of hitting a breaking point, right? Part of hitting a breaking point is like this fucking rage in you for some bullshit that goes on. And I think that nice people, or people who aspire at least to be nice, can snap over dumb shit. People,
Totally.
Like, did we snap over like the guy didn't put the weight back? Right, and I also feel like this can come from like many other factors hit me to the breaking point. Like A, lack of sleep. B, something else that happened outside of that circumstance, some other stress. C, lack of food. Right, I go fucking crazy.
Yeah, but
when
those aren't the things that make you break. They just make you more
likely to break. Yeah. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I didn't mean to kill that thing. I don't say person because I don't want to get kicked off Twitch. I didn't mean to kill that thing, right? But I didn't have fucking breakfast. I didn't sleep very well, and you bumped into me on the train. You die.
Mm-hmm. Well, and two, it's like,
or you didn't put the weights back.
In the previous podcast, like when we talked about our flaws, like one of my flaws comes coupled in with this, where I'm a person that allows things to build up in me for a very, very, very long time.
Same way.
And then the wrong people usually get the result.
Yeah, so are you going to start yelling at me at some point in this podcast? Because I can just mute you now. I was scared. This could be my fucking breaking point, asshole. You could yell at me, and that could be, I've had too much. I've been yelled at for too long.
Guy Raider breaks, too. We're going to have to all mute
We're just going to be a fucking rage
Wow.
fest. And then, when you're dating people, oh my God, and you're both at the breaking point, oh my God, that's a recipe for disaster. Because usually in relationships, one of you is supposed to bail out the other. One of you is supposed to say, hey, let's hit the brakes here. And if you're both at that level of stress, that's why I see like people with small children and they fucking flip out and they're yelling at each other in the street. I'm like, oh, dude, I feel so bad for them. I just want to calm them down, but then they're going to take that breaking point out of me. I don't want it. Yell at your kid.
Oh, there's nothing worse than seeing a couple break down over a child.
Oh, God.
Or just a parent and a child.
Especially if you look at that child and you're like, that kid's not worth it. Maybe that other kid down the street, that's a nice kid. But your kid? Nah. You shouldn't even be fighting over this kid. This kid's fucking worthless. Trust me, I know.
Yeah. No, exactly.
I can spot a worthless child. It's a skill.
Just abandon it now.
Yeah, let it go. You know what I'm saying? Like, you'd be so much happier.
Just live it, just let it live a Dickensian life.
Take that trip. Take that trip that you always wanted to do. Yeah, to Vancouver or wherever. Yeah, I'm with you.
And then that child will forever remember what they lost when they made you get to your breaking point.
Yeah,
which of course, children don't really understand that either.
Yeah, that's their problem though. Sorry. So this is getting mean-spirited. Maybe I'm taking out my breaking point. Maybe so let's get to different kinds of breaking points. We have a lot of people in our chat room. We do broadcast live for Twitch saying different things. So I'm going to read one or two very quickly.
Yeah, and by the way, also, I just want to say thank you for everyone in the chat room. It makes me fucking crack up. You guys are awesome and engaged, and it's thank you.
Go ahead,
Jesse.
And when Guy doesn't get a you're welcome, it's part of his breaking point. So I suggest in the chat room you type you're welcome immediately because he fucking put himself on the line for you, and Guy's breaking point often occurs when he puts himself on the line and other people don't acknowledge it. So just letting you know, he could snap without a you're welcome. Okay.
Thank you, Guy.
Thank you, Guy. Sorry. I should have said it earlier as part of this conversation. So Danny in the chat room said, see the chaos of the road and crowds and such doesn't get me into a breaking point because of my time spent in China and Guatemala. The driving in both of those places is just so terrible in some spots, and the pedestrians just walking across whenever, that I have some degree been desensitized to the intensity of city living. That's very interesting. So you're saying that your breaking point can be moved based upon experiences that were worse, right? Which I agree with completely. If you've had a really shitty experience in your life, a lot of the other shit won't bother you as much. It won't get you. But also,
if you've been in a relationship and you're like, that person was the craziest person ever, the next one might be crazy, but
never will live up to. Can't get you to the place that other fucking nut job got there. That's not possible. Not possible. Okay, so there's a lot of kinds of breaking points, and we should go to the chat room soon. But just give me a second. There's breaking points that come from different places, right? I'm going to talk about a few. And I've experienced all of these, so feel free to chime in, say what you want. A little bit feedback doesn't bother me. Will never get me to my breaking point because I like it. Okay, breaking point number 1, financial. Financial is a big one. When you ain't got no money, or you're afraid of where your next money's coming from, fear will drive you to a breaking point, to where you just start to snap at stupid shit. What are your thoughts, Redneck? Have you ever been in the position where you're like, oh, fuck?
Oh, for sure. Whenever I quit my refinery job and moved up here and started going back to school, there was a time, a long length of time, really, where I was just barely getting by. And that is a constant, nonstop, 24-hour stress. It's the worst. That's a definite breaking point.
And have you gotten to the point where you just like yelled at people or did things that were uncharacteristic to you? In those moments, because sure. I have, and I always deeply regret it. I always feel very bad about it, and I wish I never did it. I wish I never broke.
It sucks when you break and you just like you said, it's not yourself. You can actually feel yourself transport outside of your own personality.
Right. I'd like to go to the chat room to Sweet Hug. What a great name that is. She says, I was on a bus once and I got up to give the seat to a pregnant woman, and this guy, I think you're trying to say, almost knocked her over to get to the seat, and I started yelling. Right? So you saw an injustice, you started yelling. So the bus driver stopped the bus and kicked the guy off, and she put a little smiley face. So your rage led to something good, but there must have been. I'm gonna hit my breaking point, bro.
Sorry,
my fucking breaking point.
No,
things that get me my fucking goat is fucking on my podcast. I've had this happen too many times before, asshole.
My wife's food just arrived.
I don't give a fuck about your wife's food. I've got a podcast to run. She can eat 2 hours. This is
what kind of Mickey Mouse?
What kind of fucking is bullshit?
Running?
Speaking of which, let me turn off my ringer on my phone. Hold on.
Hey, Marissa, say sorry.
Yeah, and let's get it. We're gonna get her on the microphone in a little bit. We'll have her come in if she wants to, because she's hilarious too. Okay, so. Where were we? So, financial guy, you've been there. I've been there. We've lent each other money. We helped each other. It's like, hey, come do this job that you don't even need to actually do, but take $2,000.
We've totally 69'd each other.
There's a little, yeah, but it was more of a it was more of a financial reach around. Let's be clear about what happened. There.
Hey, listen, Jesse, just call it what you want to call it, all right?
Yeah.
It was a 69.
Yeah, it was a fucking financial gangbang. Whatever. It was good. It worked out. But we've both been in the position. I'm still there. Hello, right now. It's part of my breaking point today. Is whereas I don't have enough money, and I want to live my dream, and it is what it is. You know what I'm saying?
Well, dreaming costs money.
It does. And then you have to do things like put on silly accents that no one cares about to entertain people. So they pay you.
Doesn't add anything.
And no value whatsoever to the stream. I don't know. I don't know where I'm going with that. But definitely there's the financial, for me, right? Living a life of fucking ad hoc, trying to find gigs, trying to pursue my dream because that was what I believe in. It's very tough, man. It's like I've gotten to the point where I've hit a breaking point career-wise. That's fact. So, and where I've got, and this has happened multiple times. So this is not the first breaking point of nervous breakdown in my brain. Where I'm like, okay, I don't even know what to do anymore. And I try not to be angry about that breaking point. I try to put that into something productive, but man, I've hit that career point where I'm like, I can't take this anymore. I can't take 25 years of working harder than almost anybody I've ever met at something, with respect to everybody else out there, and still not achieving what I want to achieve for a large variety of reasons. And that's that frustration that leads to that point of fucking rage. And I think it's okay to admit rage, right? I mean, yes. I think it's okay. Because for years, I was like, oh, I'm so nice. When I think nice people don't ever want to admit that they have rage in them because they don't want other people to think of them as rageful people. But I think everybody has a breaking point. Don't you guys think? Redneck?
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Guy, you're originally from Kentucky, but you're not. You don't go by Redneck. So please don't answer by Redneck. You're more of a, let's go to the window.
You can even just call me Austin now.
We've got, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh my God, it's a breakthrough.
He hit a breaking point of not hearing his actual name. Right? He said, I wish to be called, ladies and gentlemen, Redneck Rebels, actual name is Austin. Look at this. I'm very proud of this moment, bro. You've done well for yourself in this moment. Let's turn this lights on, get this camera up a little bit. Look how beautiful that is out there. It's out of focus.
Oh, that's nice.
That's so nice. Okay, you guys can see it on the audio part, but that's too fucking bad. It's on YouTube. Okay, so there's the financial breaking point. So we've gotten to that thing, you snap to snap. Then there's health, right? And I've been through it. Guy's been through it. I'm sure you have redneck where somebody's sick and this and that. And the stress of that shit is so intense that you hit many breaking points. And I think as a breaking point is like the ultimate of points. We're talking about like I'm done, this and that, and you fucking rage out. We've all been there. And it's just like, because it wears on you. Health is one of those things in life because it's so tied into everything you are and your people you care about, that when it hits you, it's like, I think that there's points of like, when you say, Guy, you've had experience, I've had experience, and Redneck probably has, there's a point of like numbness that happens.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you're so broken that you go numb. That's like a dangerous part of
that's like we were talking about like the rage and maybe
right.
violent, urges of breaking points.
Right.
But yeah, there is the inverse, right? Which you were talking about, the financial and also health, whether it's your own or I think in our experiences as a family member, right, where someone is just so sick and off the grid, and you don't have any, there is no response. Rage is not even an option. The only option is to pull down and
just disconnect.
Yeah,
that's a form of breaking point.
And numb yourself.
100%,
yeah, it
100%.
is.
I've gone into that, and I've gone into like a year of just like a shell shock. And we're gonna go to the chat room in a second again, but like that sort of like moment of like just apathy. When you're not an apathetic person, that's a break from somebody who's like a really passionate person. You break into this mode
where you just throw your hands up and you're like, I can't do anything.
Like, haven't you ever met your friend who, after years of going through something or people taking advantage of them, they become very selfish? And all of a sudden you're like,
yes.
Who is this person? And they hit that point silently, and they're just kind of an asshole now. And it's not the friend you remember. They're acting in ways, and it's consistently awful behavior. So that person has something broke them. And I think they can be recovered, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. But I've had those things where like I used to take karate a lot. I still do sometimes. But my teacher used to say,
"Hi-ya."
How dare you, bro? Insulting my karate. It's
I
like
disrespected your culture.
You're level 2, right? Once you get to level 10, bro, something's gonna happen. We're gonna talk about the warning in a second. The warning is part of my breaking point. It's not good. Nice. So the karate thing. So he used to say, when you get kicked in the muscle, in the leg, or whatever that people would do in my karate style, he'd say the problem isn't when it hurts. The real problem is when you don't feel the pain anymore, because the nerves are dead.
Ooh.
Because they've hit you so fucking hard that you're fucked up. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So me, there's something that happens with me when I'm going to break or I'm going to snap on somebody. It doesn't happen a lot, and I don't like to ever get to this place. I always warn them. There's something in my brain, some sort of like thing that says like, hey, tell them that they're going too far in a very, very conscious way. And I've looked at them, I'll be like, listen, you need to stop. And I'll look at them really serious, and they either get it or they don't. And I had one time with somebody, a good friend, and I had to tell him, I said, listen, what you're doing is wrong. You're really bothering me. Please stop. Right? And
sometimes you have
kept
to
going.
Have that
you have to. And in that moment, it kept going.
Some people may not get it.
Oh, yeah.
They don't realize it because maybe you hide things so well.
Absolutely. And it's on me, too. But like you have that serious moment, and then I've had situations where people just keep going. And I've said to them, if you keep going, I'm going to smack you.
Yeah.
That's rare. That's once every 20 years. But usually something in my brain says, you've hit the breaking point, walk away. That's always what I do. I always walk away because I'm fucking done. And I'm like a cliff when it comes to people. I love people to death. I'm very trusting. I give everything I can whenever I can to anybody that's in need and shows that they are worthy of it.
That's true.
Thank you. So when I do that, but it's like, and it's unfiltered and it's filled with love, but I'm like a cliff, right? You fuck with me for long enough, right? Eventually, you just hit that point, I'm done. You're off the cliff, I just get rid of you. You know what I'm saying?
This might sound stupid.
No, please. I love things that are stupid.
I developed this philosophy a long time ago, just personal philosophy, where I said everybody gets one.
Right.
So that's basically like everybody that I know, and like the one is like something really bad. Like everybody gets one. You get this one thing that I'll let you do to me, and I'll walk away,
Right.
and I'll give you the benefit of the doubt.
Right.
But after the one is gone, the
One.
time after that is the warning, and then
Right.
I'm going to do something.
Right. Something's gonna happen, and you're provoking it. Like I'm letting you know, and you inform them, I assume, right, of what that thing is, so that they can they can acknowledge it, have the conversation.
I feel like they deserve it.
Yeah,
you know?
they deserve it.
Like
I agree with you. I agree with you. Because you don't want to snap unnecessarily. And sometimes I snap and I apologize. It's rare. I don't really get angry, but there are times, man, when I'm going through years of financial stress, years of somebody in my family fucking sick or dying, years of people taking advantage of me, years of my career not going how it should in my eyes, years of this, years of that. And sometimes I'm just at that fucking point, dude. I'm just like, I'm done. Like, I'm done with everything. I'm done with this. And it lasts a very short time, and I get over it. But I want to go to the chat room real quick, because Danny said something interesting before. She said, sometimes when you're dealing with a breaking point and can't get out of that stress, it can weaken you significantly, so you develop PTSD and get to that point faster on simpler things. I agree with that completely. And the way
there's a compounding effect,
right?
Right,
absolutely, yeah.
Where like multiple breaking points on any given day, and this is this kind of harkens back to, is like you were talking about, like, oh, what can make me be closer to the breaking point.
Right.
So if you're dealing with some personal stress of some sort, it doesn't matter what the origin is, and you go through your day,
right,
and then everything that occurs can actually trigger you.
Right.
I know we didn't say this.
No, but it's appropriate.
But it can break you. It can break you as like multiple times, and it is a compounding, awful kind of like geometric reinforcing thing mentally.
Right.
I think I'll be honest, and I'm sure it's not a surprise, or I love the fact that we can talk about like mental issues as well. But if you deal with depression, anxiety, whatever. Like, and those things can just really bring you close to that breaking point. And it's important to understand what's going to happen. Yeah.
I've gotten to the point, I don't give a shit anymore if people judge me or not. And that's kind of one of the freeing things for me, right? Mm-hmm. I have gotten to a point where I was walking down the street crying, had to walk into a church, I'm not religious, and have somewhere to sit. I've had shaking, and I've gotten to severe breaking points, some of which Guy has been around for and help pull me out of. And that's what friends do. They spot when you're at that point, and they say, hey, let me give you some of my heart or my kindness or my time or my love to let you know that there's going to be something beyond where you are now at this breaking point. And so this is important to recognize when somebody's at that moment. You know what I'm saying? Like that moment of like, shit, this person, and even if they're right or wrong, they have been through hell, or they're at that like, and I was to say again about the PTSD thing, that shit's real, because I look at it like my career, it bothers me because I have a vision for what I want to do. And I'm a goal-oriented person, so everybody here understands. It's not a wow moment. It's I want to achieve something, and I know I have the skill to do it, and so that's frustrating for me. So I sometimes think about, I feel like quitting, because I'm at that breaking point. And I want to talk about that next because it's very interesting. But like, I look at it like I'm never going to be like, there was never any one thing that happened. It wasn't that they stole my television show, or the DNC copied my video, or this opportunity went that way, or that person became famous and forgot me. None of those things could break me. But it's a fucking death by 1,000 paper cuts.
Yeah. But don't say it's not your career though, because when you finally do make it and you are at the success that you want to be, because you will be.
Thank you. Very kind.
You'll be telling this story. All of this is a part of your story.
I agree with this. So. Listen, but it's all about the journey anyway, and I know that. I fully recognize it, and yeah. So yeah. So yes, my brain. Stuff. Breaking point, financial stress. Okay, so what do you? Sorry, I'm covering a million things. That's a very hard topic for me to sort of go on through. So,
well, when you suggested this topic, I was like, hey, Jesse, You sure you want to go there, buddy?
Yeah, it's a mentally damaged topic.
I was like, I should probably come over with some orange slices.
No. Puppy said, have you tried breaking down your goal into smaller ones to get you closer to the wider, bigger goal? A million times. Every single day in a different way. No, look, this is a frustration. I'm an ambitious person. I think Barbara from Rooster Teeth, who's very famous now, she's really in her own niche way, grown very famous. She once said to me, "You're the most ambitious person I've ever met." I'm just an ambitious person. So even if I get what I want, I'm going to want more. I'm going to want to reach more people. I want to help more people, or it's the goal is going to be broken in some way. So it's just, that's just the way I am. I'm a very driven, focused person. And
that's exactly what I told you the other day. You know, when we was talking, just you and me, I said that, when most people would quit, you keep going. And that's what makes you special.
Well, thank you. And I'm proud of that. I'm very proud of it. So those are the moments where in my breaking points, I try to remember those. Like I wrote one out today. So in dealing with breaking points, how do you deal with it? How do you come down from that point of heightened fucking stress when you're like, where you sort of want to back down from it? OC Diva in the chat room said, "Oof, when Jesse gets angry, it's scary as fuck. There's eyes." Yeah, I'm a super nice guy. I'm telling you, I'm not just saying it because being nice is a choice in life. It really is.
But he also has big, scary eyes.
But when I fucking get angry, like, never piss off a nice person. Let me tell you, because nice people are the people that will really cut you up, bury you in the desert, pee on you. Then take your stuff out and send it to your relatives. Not me, because terms of service Twitch, but some other guy might do that to you. So you want to see the scary eyes? I'm going to do it for just when OCD, but it's not meant for you. Everybody else, when I get pissed off, my eyes get big. I'm going to try to do it for the camera. It's hard. I'm laughing at it, right? You can't see this if you're listening, but here, this is what I do. It's pissed off, and I start to look, and I start to get really fucking focused, and I look like I'm going to fucking kill you.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I'll never have me do that again. I'm so sorry.
Hey, right. Jesse, can I actually tell an anecdote about you and I?
Please. All right. Do we make out in college that I forgot about?
No.
Okay, good, because I don't remember that.
Guys
I don't want it.
No,
a little bit of that.
We were both in grad school.
Okay,
actually.
Cool.
So that's better. No. So when I flew out to Los Angeles the first summer of grad school.
Yes.
Jesse wanted to reshoot a film that we had done in college.
Yes.
Really very funny.
Shades of Grey. Not the S&M film. My film.
Not the S&M film.
My film came before that film.
Or 20 Shades of Grey.
Yeah, exactly.
And part of his stress release, because it was very stressful shooting this thing with one camera.
Very.
No
money.
No money.
No permits.
It was what did we call it? The $2,000 feature?
A psychotic girl I was dating at the time.
Oh,
Keep going.
My God. Well, we won't even get into that.
Please don't. But, breaking point.
So there were a number of occasions, and luckily I was in better shape than I am now.
You were in great shape, guy, by the way.
I was in very good shape for that film.
I was impressed.
And I would come over to where Jesse was staying, is I think the dorm room with Steve, right?
Yes.
And
say nice things about Steve. Don't want to get killed by him. He scares me.
And Jesse's like, "Hey, let's spar." And I'm like, "Spar? I don't take karate. I don't know how to fight." He's like, "No, it's fine."
It'll be fine. Yeah,
I'm just going to try and punch you, and you just try to block. And I'm like, "Okay, that sounds like fun."
It was fun.
And he would just land these punches on my solar plexus. And I'm not trying to paint Jesse as a sadomasochist or anything like that.
No. I'm more of a narcissist.
But it was so funny being that at that age where I was and in shape enough where I'm like, yeah, I can take a couple shots to the solar plexus.
It's funny how memory changes stories.
But quite honestly, that was therapeutic, not just for you, but for me as well. Because I was like, oh, this is nice. Now I know what it feels like to be hit. So if I'm ever in a fight, I'll actually know what it feels like, and I can power through it.
So it actually also occurred while we were seniors in college at this house we were renting together. And Guy wanted to play spar with me. It was Guy's idea. And he's like, "Yo, just punch me harder." I'm like, "You sure, dude?"
Are you sure? Yeah.
And I was like, "Bip," right? Every time he's like, "Oh, it's awesome." So things like exercise, they help me get through breaking points, right? Sure. Exercise is great, endorphins, moments where I'm like, I'm going to fucking snap. Life is going to make me snap. Exercise, chocolate. Like right now, I'm tired. I'm exhausted. I didn't sleep well because I'm really stressed out about a few things. But I really wanted to do a great job in this podcast. So I'm like, let me load up on something I love. Something I love or somebody I love, be it friend, family, person.
Who did you load up?
I loaded. No loads were dropped. They were loaded in. Wait, what?
Yeah.
Right? Oh,
did you leave one in the chamber? What's going on?
What? There's nothing. Believe me, this age, there's nothing in the chamber. So the and if it's in the chamber, it's more not going to fire out. It's just going to drip out slowly. That's a joke, right? That's a joke. PG squirteen. So. So anyway, what the fuck was I talking about? I lost the whole thing in the joke and the humor. Oh, fuck it. I lost it. It's done. How do you recover from this? I'm going back to my notes because what you do when you're in high school or junior high school, you go to your notes. Okay. So let's go to the chat room. See if we can discover somebody else. And if anybody wants to join for just a comment or two, come into the Discord and I will drag you in for a comment or two. We can't have too many long-winded things today because there's a lot to talk about on this thing. So what do you do when you, how do you recover from your breaking point? What do you guys do to sort of come down from it? If you find yourself at that level, you're either going to snap or you already just snapped. What do you do?
I try to kind of just sit back, go to a really quiet place. I like to go out and like hike trails or something like that, a place where I'm like really, really secluded. It's quiet and I'm just kind of left alone with my own thoughts to kind of gather some perspective.
Sounds like a motivators poster.
Yeah, exactly. I picture you with a fucking like
advantage.
Sunset behind you. Right. When
I have the advantage of living in an area where there's a lot of that to be had around here.
Right.
So like I can do that and it's like, okay.
So you feel that brings you down a few notches from getting to that point of explosion.
Yeah, because you don't want to make any mistakes that could be, lifelong or damaging to any aspect of your life. So you have to sit and think and be like, okay, this can get better. It's not the end. I need to just like it's basically like rewiring my brain.
Yeah, I do that too. I do. That's great. I do that too.
Yeah.
And Zed from the chat room, he lives in South Africa. He said there's a river by my house with a rock enclosed in willow trees, and I usually listen to music, read a book, or sketch something there when I need to cool off. Even hearing you say that in my brain,
God, I'm so relaxed.
I was relaxed reading your shit. Like, that's great. I should actually have you just write things to me when I'm feeling stressed, which sometimes you actually do, which is very kind. So for me, Guy, I want to hear from you too. I go for rides. Something about traveling and moving makes me think everything's going to be good. I do because I feel...
This is one thing I don't know if you've ever talked about, but you love to just drive.
I love it. I love to just go. I drove across country 4 times from New York to Los Angeles back and forth. And some of those were not pleasant, but some of it was so therapeutic for me because I think that the feeling for me is one of my biggest stresses is a feeling of lack of control of certain things in my life. And that's my own problem, whatever the fuck. But when I drive, I feel like I'm in control of the vehicle. I'm in control of where I'm going. And I also can let go of control sometimes of the destination when I'm sort of free roaming. I love that. And I love discovering new things because it makes me feel like I don't have to control as much. It lets me sort of let that part of my brain go. So when something's really bothering me, it doesn't as much. Goodbye, Stuart, who's in the chat room. And everybody else who's here that I have not acknowledged, I totally know you're here with me. I love it. Thank you. I just stay focused on the topic so I don't hit a breaking point with fucking this up. Because that happens to me too. When I hit a point of like where I feel like I'm fucking something up bad enough, a stress starts to build. And it can just percolate in one of 2 ways. Snapping, which is unusual, or just getting really quiet. Sometimes I hit like an internal breaking point, like if I'm at a party and I feel awkward and I feel like somebody slighted me and I'm fucking done. I'm not angry. I'm just like dejected. And that's not good either. I know that. And so for me, to relax from these things, I just have something that's nice, talk to somebody who gives a shit about me, find something meaningful, maybe watch something I know, do some illicit narcotic, maybe, I don't know, maybe, terms of service, not me, talking about somebody else. I'd like to admit publicly something I didn't do, but if I did do it, it makes for a good story. So I'm going to tell you, right?
I would love to hear about the thing that you didn't do. But if you did do, it would be very therapeutic.
I was at a very what? I may, in this story, fictitious version of myself, was at a very stressed out part of my life. I was so fucking stressed. It was late.
Sounds unusual.
That's fucked up.
Sorry, dude.
He calls me stress kid. You know that guy calls me stress kid.
Stress kid.
He calls me stress kid. And then Victor's favorite version of me. My friend Victor's one of my favorite people in the world. Hopefully we can get him on here at some point. He's fucking amazing,
awesome.
right? Victor, he's my favorite humor is when I get really depressed, I get very funny about everything, and that sort of gets me out of that depression. But the crazy shit that I say comes from him. He calls that depressed kid. That's his name for that character. Anyway.
Oh, that's right. There's depressed kid.
Yeah, the stress kid, depressed kid, Jess kid, and a couple others. Anyway, so I was really stressed out. I go downstairs, and I'm about to cross the street, right? And you know the streets are like they're cars. It's like a light. Cars. It's 4 different what do they call those? Crosswalks, right? So the opposite one can turn left when the light goes, but they have to wait for me to cross the street. Now it's like 2:00 in the morning. I'm going to the store. I'm tired. And this car is sitting there, and so like 2 young girls. They look with their fucking attitudes, playing the music, whatever the fuck it was. And I was in a really bad mood. And the car is supposed to, the light turns, I start to walk. And the car looks like it's going to go, right? So I start to walk, right? They stop for a second, like they don't go fast. They see that I'm trying to walk in the crosswalk, and they speed up.
No.
And they're going to hit me with their car and there's nobody on the streets. They wait 4 seconds. They're through the thing, or 2 seconds, and I have the right of way. I'm walking, and they speed up, and it's gonna fucking careen into me. And it was such a scumbag thing to do. I used to break boards at karate, so in this story of me, I fucking got so angry that I had to jump out of the way of their car to not get mowed over by the fact that these 2 cunts, because that's what they were in that moment, and they could have been men. This could be Britain. Right? And they slowed it down. They slowed down their car at the last second, and it like careening by me. I fucking picked up my fish fictitiously, and I slammed on it like when I used to break like 6 boards at once in my tournaments. And I must have left in their fucking hood like a fist mark, like perfectly shaped, like the Hulk smashed it.
Nice.
Right? Because I was
a much smaller Hulk.
Yeah, I was. Yeah. The sulk they call me.
The sulk.
Anyway, so then the girl starts yelling me, and I start pacing the car on the other side, screaming at them. You fucking, the rage I felt from them endangering my life, right? And then what happens is all logic then floods back in and says, oh my God, the cops. You know what I'm saying? Oh my God, you're going to jail. Oh my God, they're going to do, even though they almost killed me. You know what I'm saying? In this fictitious story, I hightailed out of there, got home, and felt nervous for 3 days that they were going to find me. But, at that moment, it was very deserved, but I kind of always regret when I lose my temper like that. That's about it. I never hurt anybody. I don't fight in the street. I walk away from everything. Usually, I just walk away and feel bad. Usually, I internalize breaking points. Do you do that too, Guy? I think you do.
Oh, I do. Yeah, I'm kind of like a buffer, like a sponge. I tend to just absorb. I think this is a coping strategy that a lot of people adopt, is that you just kind of like build it up, and then like at some point you have to explode it on something, and hopefully it's something constructive, right? Because I do think like the breaking point can actually build you up to the point where you're like, I can't take it anymore, so I'm going to do something positive for myself.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. Yeah, that's a great way to put it. So I just have to go to the chat room where everybody, including you fucking guys, are writing things with my name in it.
Dude, it's so much more interesting than listening to you.
Thank you for that. Thank you.
I just have to go to the chat.
So Guy says when Jesse turns into a tree, he is Cypress Kid. Redneck says after shower, he is Fresh Kid. OC Diva says when he doesn't clean up, he's Mess Kid. Let's see what else. I think we have 1 or 2 more in here. Did I miss some? When he plays chess, is he Chess Kid? Oh my God. He likes boobs, so he's Breast Kid. Oh my God.
I like floppers.
Yeah, I like if he prays, he's blessed, kid. Oh my god.
Yeah, dude.
Oh my god. I think.
+1 to
Yeah. Thank you for
attack and
you
damage.
fucking assholes. I'm hitting my breaking point.
Oh,
But I think it's,
my
dude.
God.
It makes me listen. We've all been there. We're all gonna be there. People are gonna fucking die. We're gonna lose our money. Our loved ones are gonna get in a big fight with us. We're gonna feel the pressures of children. And you know, I feel like we're all gonna hit that point. But being able to talk about it is so healthy. Like
so liberating.
it is. It's like it's just we're fucking human, dude. Like, and I think that we've talked about this in other podcasts before. I think that when people in social media isolate moments where somebody's at a fucking breaking point, and we've seen it, and then like replays it a million times or haunts them for it, it's a fucked up thing to do because everybody gets there. You take like Britney Spears when she's bald and fucking beating a thing, or people just get there, and sometimes it just requires understanding, dude. It's kind of fucked up that we just don't allow we just condemn it so much without trying to understand the state of mind that must have led to that. Now, if the person does it over and over and over, they're just a fucking asshole. There's no excuse. But I think that there are mitigating circumstances sometimes for behavior. Like I've worked with people and they've acted badly, and I'm like, hey, are you okay? That's my first question, right?
Yeah.
Somebody called me guest kid. How fucking dare you, guy? And now you're gonna make an important comment here. Call me guest kid there, and you're gonna just pontificate.
No, dude. It's just a joke. Anyway,
I know. You're forgiven.
But it is. I do feel bad. Like if you don't have any sort of outlet to express your breaking point and be like, oh, hey, trusted person that I like.
Right.
I can be like, oh, this happened to me today, and you just like vent it out and make it apparent, and the other person was like, oh, I understand you, also fellow human being. Right. Like that, a lot of people, and even like if you're well adjusted and you have a good social network, sometimes it's not even available.
Right.
You don't actually have an avenue to express why you're so irrationally angry about something.
Right.
Because something broke you that day. Yeah,
man.
So that's my little like mental health tip. And let me just tell a very short anecdote.
Please do. And we'll bring Steve in here for a second, who's waiting to come in and give a very brief story, Steve. Oh, sorry.
Totally. So my mother is in the hospital right now.
You're breaking up. This is important.
No, so just throw it over to the next.
No. But no, say it again. I'm saying you were breaking up. Your mic,
sorry. Yeah, so my mother is very sick in the hospital. At work, there's like this kind of like dress code of social dress code of like you don't really talk about personal things. But luckily, I have like a group of people at work that I can just be like, yeah, this is what's going on with my life, and I'm not quite sure if I have to go out there yet or whatever. And everyone's like hears it and understands it, and I really feel bad for people who in their personal or professional life like don't have.
I agree.
Don't have people that you can just speak honestly about what is breaking you at that specific moment.
Yeah, well, that's one of the best things to be able to do, I think, is to just have people that you can just like. It doesn't always have to be like really deep and personal, but you can just be like, hey,
just say, hey, this is what is going.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
that's really, really nice just to get it off your chest.
But like, for instance, like, you guys know I stream a lot. I think the stream in some ways is going well. We have a community. It's growing. I fucking love you guys for it. There's no doubt about that. I'm serious. I am so appreciative and touched. And if I talk about it long enough, I'll wind up in tears. But that's fact. So the last couple of days of doing the stream, I play the same game over and over and over. And the game is so fucking toxic that I play. And I don't want to go into too many details about it, but I have people shitting on me and belittling me for 3 to 5 hours at a time, yelling at me, 3 groups of 3 in there just to get a rise out of other people. It's like junior high school. And I do it because I love the game that I play, and I got to meet most of the people in this chat room through that game. So for me, it's like a means to an end, but the means sometimes is like I'm hitting a breaking point of just mentally not wanting to hear the same thing over and over and over. And now some people can say, well, I just don't let it bother me. And some people have that personality, But when you're trying to be positive in the face of something so negative, that shit can get you to a fucking breaking point. It's easy to be apathetic and be like, well, whatever, doesn't bother me. I'm not really going to put that much into it. But part of what I'm doing here is I'm investing in every single person I meet here. You know what I'm saying? I'm putting as much into you guys, no pun intended, wink, wink, as you're putting into me. Reach around. No, sorry, I can't help but joke. That's just me. So, but I'm saying is like I put a lot out there into people, and when you get like constant like awfulness back, like it starts to wear off on you if you're invested in them. Because you want them to like you, you want them to understand you. The way you do that is you drop your barriers. And then you do that. So for me, lately, I've just felt a little bit of a breaking point in sort of doing the same thing over and over and over and just hitting some resistance. But there are answers to that. It's just doing something different for a while and just seeing, experimenting, getting out of my comfort zone and just try to just hopefully that works as well. But it's sort of conflict.
And that's the thing, too, not to interrupt.
No, please.
Because I stream the game as well, the same game, and it's definitely like a really relatable thing you're putting off here because, it doesn't bother you personally, and it doesn't, like you're not taking anything to heart, but it's like you're putting it away, you're dealing with it. Okay, that guy's mean. Okay, that guy's mean. You constantly are just putting it away, and then finally it's the breaking point where you're just like, I'm just tired of listening to this every single time I try to, entertain and have a broadcast.
Yeah, it's like being a police officer in an inner city neighborhood that's very violent, right? Because people are poor and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And or being disrespected there, and a lot of those cops killed themselves. I'm not going to kill myself. It's a fucking stupid game. But my point is that they're around such poor people that have problems so often that it starts to affect them. Like, so they go home and they drink or they do drugs to try to cope with this because they're hitting those breaking points without the release. And I'm not saying this is happening here, but for me, that breaking point has happened more recently because there's a collision between these assholes in this game and the financial pressure of trying to make this a full-time thing where I know I have a lot to offer. And then that hits with how many years I've put into it and having to tune in every single social media platform and witness everybody else's success all the time, of which I'm happy for them, but sad that I'm not there yet. And those things in that moment are a breaking point. If enough of those assholes say the wrong thing to me, then I say, I can't either do this any longer or I can't, that means I won't. And it's like a cascading effect for me. I can't listen to these assholes another fucking game. So I lose the one game where I've reached the most amount of people. Without some place to reach people, then I won't be able to grow this number in a brick by brick way, which I've done, which has not been easy. If that happens, then I'm wasting my time. If that happens, then I will never make a living out of this. If that happens, then my dream is ruined. And it's like, none of those things connect. Don't get me wrong. But at that moment well, they do in the way of that moment of high stress.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? They do in that moment of like 1,000 paper cuts. That kid could be the 10,000th cut. You're just like, I can't take it anymore. You know what I'm saying? So how do I get out of it? Again, back to that is, like I said, just somebody I love, somebody I care about, some joke, some grounding thing, or as Redneck said before, Austin, I run a timeline of who I am in my mind. Like today I came up with a video that I want to do that's sort of all the things like my own visual resume. Who is Jesse Cowell? Who is Jeskidding in 60 seconds to or 2 minutes or less? What has he done in this world? And when I frame that way, even writing it down in my brain, I run the timeline for myself.
Dude, are you saying that you created a like a New York Times?
Yes. No, I haven't done it yet. Well, it's coming.
Obituary for yourself?
No, fuck yeah, no. That's cool though. It's like a zombie. I come back. I'm a zombie now, so it's fine.
Sorry, no.
I'm Abercrombie zombie. I don't know what I'm saying. But but what I'm saying, because I'm wearing this shirt that's got a little tiger on it or some shit. When I was a kid, I was like, oh, La Tigra. Those are the rich kids. Because they had like a tiger and a fucking lion or a giraffe, whatever the fuck they had in their shirt, and I just had a hole in my shirt. Because my mom was poor. No, she wasn't poor. She's a fucking amazing mom. If you're out there, you were the best influence, mentor, person.
We love Jesse's
Oh,
mom.
she's the fucking best. So, I make jokes, but I really did have a hole in my shirt at some point. There's a picture of me with a hole in my shirt. It's so cool. If somebody, Bubby said he has a drastically different philosophy when it comes to calming down. If you get back to that topic, just got home and can jump in if you want. Sure, jump into the Discord, into the voice chat thing. We'll bring you in. What is my breaking point, Zane? There's a lot of them. I have a lot of breaking points, but I'm pretty good at averting the finality of like this is it. But I have something to say about all this too. Let's go. I'm gonna bring in Steve, and we're gonna hear what Steve's breaking point is, and we're gonna hear how Steve recovers from it quickly. So Steve, you're coming in. Steve is first. All right, Steve, you are live on the air on the Jeskid podcast thing. Fucking technology from hell.
Yeah, no pressure.
Okay, go. So, what is your breaking point, Mr. Steve? And welcome to the channel, my dude.
Well, my breaking point was a singular moment that's already passed, and that was in 2016. And I think I shared that story.
You did
a while ago.
Would you like me to say it, or would you like to say it, or just skip it?
I can make it brief. In 2016 was my absolute lowest point. I almost ended my own life. A whole series of bad things occurred that built up and built up and built up, and I just couldn't take it anymore. But thankfully, I live with my parents. I do have that level of social security, I guess you can say.
Mm-hmm.
Not like the check we get every month, but
Filthy liberal.
And they were there.
Sorry.
Not even. Anyway.
No, I know that. That's why I'm making the joke. I'm sorry.
But they were there. So they recognized it, and they were able to, walk me through it. And I came to the realization that, whoa, okay, I just broke. I need to change. I need to make changes. And a lot of those changes were taking more control of my intake of various things like social media or games or basic television. I started taking note of the things that literally aggravated me. I posted in the chat earlier. I have basically a trifecta or a holy trinity of things for my brain. If I'm confused and can't figure it out, I get frustrated. And once I get frustrated, I get angry. So for me, I try not to talk about politics because it is such a dynamic thing. Nobody's right.
Can I just interrupt you real quick and say, so not only, I really care about you, Steve. Obviously, I hope you feel that for me. B, when I'm joking before, I don't mean to belittle you.
Oh, no, I know.
We've heard this. I heard this story before, so that's why I would interrupt you at all. And C, I made a political joke while you were doing it, so I feel even worse because you hate to talk about politics. And so I'm interrupting your fucking story about your dear life with a political joke of which you don't want to hear.
But see, at least I've grown to a point where I can sense the joke. I can hear the inflection in your voice. Yeah.
I mean no harm, and I'm actually somebody who can have a political discussion because I really want to understand the other person. I don't want to just fucking riff at them my point of view.
Yeah. And a lot of people come to breaking points even in those discussions because some people come into the discussion only to respond, not to understand.
Well, I agree with that too. They just want to promote their own brand over and over and over.
They can hear your words, but they're not interpreting them or they're not holding on to their meaning. They're just hearing it and picking the parts like, I want to respond to that. I want to respond to that. I want to respond.
So those often do lead to breaking points. So I'm glad, obviously, that you've gotten mechanisms in place to sort of deal with your own breaking points. Steve, I think that's wonderful. I think it's amazing. Yeah. And I think that you streaming and doing all these other things, I think it's great for you too. But I don't want to spend too long on it, but did you have something else to add?
Yeah, I was going to, you mentioned, when you stream, you have all these people, they're trying to either get a rise out of you or they're just trying to rile you up. And after 3 or 4 hours, you have this method where you kind of bring it back to something that's entirely your own or grounded to you. I do the same. But I try to do that a little more actively, even during moments where someone's trying to get my goat, so to speak. I'll try to change the subject as often as possible. Oftentimes it doesn't work. Sometimes it does work, and a lot of times I can actually get them in on it, and 5-10 minutes later, they don't even remember that they were trying to piss me off.
So you treat them like a 4-year-old.
I try to treat them like a 4-year-old, or I try to treat them like a best friend from the get-go, even if they want to hurt me.
That's beautiful. What I do
And
is
a lot of times they will forget that they were trying to hurt me. And in 2 cases, I actually have 2 cases where they are actually now very good friends of mine.
That's awesome. Well, for me, I've done that too. I'm playing this silly game, and most people usually don't bother me, and I have all these mechanisms in place to deal with them. But if I'm fucking worried about paying a bill next month, and I have a sick family member, and I have somebody angry at me that I care about, and I have annoying people who are around me for whatever reason, taking from me, and that kid is the 50th kid to say something, that's where it gets to me. Normally, I can mute, walk away, don't give a shit, make a joke, bring them on my side. I'm a master at it. But
there's only so much you can take.
There's only so much, and I think that's part of this discussion, which is very interesting. There's only so much you should take. So let's go to Puppies, who's joined the room. Puppies obviously has something to say because he hopped in here. Mr. Puppies, Mr. David, would you like to add to this conversation?
Sure. I mean, I guess in terms of breaking points, the way that I see them, it's a little bit different. When I've reached a breaking point, it's maybe been like once or twice in my life. And the way that I see it is they usually change you a little bit, right? For the better or the worse. Usually it tends to be for the worst to start with, and hopefully for the better once you realize what it is that broke you, and then you can kind of almost patch it or make it work in your favor. I don't consider kind of breaking points this little events where you kind of get angry and maybe lose your personality for a bit. Breaking points to me are things that kind of break you, right? Like in the word, they sort of change you in some fundamental way, and then
so the breaking point is like long standing or chronic, you might say, right?
I think so. I mean, that's the way that I consider them.
No, that's
it doesn't have to be that way, but that's kind of the way that I see them as major events in at least in my life, right? It's just those things that kind of break you. So one would be something that happened in my career that kind of, in a way, you could say, prevented me from proceeding further in that career. So that was kind of a breaking point. And the other breaking point was my very, very first breakup. Because I was very emotionally involved with that person, and then it changed me as a person. Like I said, for the worse to begin with, and I would like to believe now for the better because it doesn't affect me any longer. But yeah, anyways, that's what I think of breaking point.
So I'm gonna bring one more person here really quickly, get their perspective. Bubby, you are now live in the chat room, and you had something to add. If you can hear me.
Yeah. Oh my God, it's loud.
Sorry. I will try to not turn myself down. I can't do that.
No, I got it.
Sorry.
Bring that slider down, Joey.
Hey, Puppies, that was fascinating, by the way. And I think,
thank you.
I think that I just want to comment that and say, I think that sometimes they're event-driven breaking points, and I think that sometimes there's just emotionally driven ones. Sometimes there's ones I get points in my life where I have pain in my neck and my shoulders from whatever, just getting older, whatever the fuck it is, and those can lead to
too many reach arounds,
a little bit of bob and weave, which I don't really know. I'm going with that, but
too many attempts at sucking yourself off.
Well, yes.
Oh, wow. Steve from the fucking
I came in at a good time.
Yeah, let me hit the mute button on that guy. No, I'm just kidding, Steve. You're awesome. That was true. So anyway, let's go to Bubby, who just spent time, I believe, in Italy helping to build water for impoverished children. Am I wrong about that?
Yeah, probably the wrong. That's Bubby 08.
Oh, you're Bubby. Which Bubby?
I'm 07.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, sorry.
Oops, my bad. Well, so you're the guy who spent time in prison for, I don't know, stealing baseball cards.
That's much closer.
Okay,
probably.
cool. So what is your take on this thing here?
Well, I noticed that everybody had a go to your quiet place philosophy to dealing with anger. And short story long, rough childhood.
You mean long story short, please, not short story long. Please, God, no.
Yes,
okay, thank God. Okay.
But the short of it, your typical really rough childhood, broken family, all that good stuff, and developed some very, very bad habits as far as dealing with anger, which I learned from an abusive parent. And I didn't really realize I had a problem until I got out from under their wing right when I turned 18. And I was like, man, like I had this reputation of being a hothead, which in my household, I was the calm one. Like I was always trying to calm people down, but I didn't realize how broken it really was. And after years of therapy, it was finally like, okay, you have this cycle that you enter into, and the only way to break it is to see it out. So I took up very serious weightlifting. I'm into powerlifting. I have a full home gym, the full setup now.
Awesome.
So if I get angry, I go out to my garage, I play some brutal metal music, and I'm yelling and screaming and lifting weights and slamming and punching the punching bag. And I work through it. I get it out because it's gotten to a point where if I try to calm myself down, all that does is the next time something happens, it's going to be even worse, and then even worse, and then even worse.
Well, I think we all agree that exercise, I mean, most people can agree that exercise is one of the best ways to deal with, that feeling of getting to, I can't take this anymore.
Yeah, because that ended up happening. I am happily married now, but I did have my first wife. We married very young. I hadn't really addressed these issues, and over years I kept trying to suppress it, and then it finally it wasn't working. We separated. It's amicable. We have a child together, but it failed because I could not get a wraps on my temper, and I realized all of this. Oh, meditate, calm down. That stuff doesn't work for everybody, and that's what all the YouTube videos you see, oh, just meditate. That does work for most people, and I'm not even going to pretend that it doesn't. That's how my wife is. If she's angry, she needs some alone time. She's going to read a book. She's going to calm down. But she knows when I get mad and go out into the garage, she's like, no, it's just what he does. She doesn't freak out. She's like, okay, this is a good thing. Yeah. And it took, I'm 34 years old now, and I finally figured it out a few years ago. Like, that's what I need. I need to get it. Like, I need to go through the full rage process and then just calm down. So I go to a place, but it's not a quiet place. You see what I'm saying? Like I think
gotta agree with that too. The gym is the same thing for me.
You think it's different? Do you think men and women are different in this? I don't know because I'm not a woman. Like our men do, because like I go to karate, and sometimes, and I don't go enough. I kind of avoid things that sort of help me sometimes. Sometimes I go to karate. I'm not there to hurt people, but recognizing that I'm good at something, and when I fucking turn into I go like full ninja mode. And I start to dice people, and I realize, oh shit, there's a whole nother part of me. I find being present the best way to deal with it, and I think that being athletic or that's a very present thing to do. Like you have no choice but be present. If you fuck up lifting that weight, it's gonna drop on your face. Right, if I fuck up, if I move the wrong way, this guy's going to hurt me. So I need to make sure that I'm there, and then my problems just aren't there with me. So it gives me like a detachment from it in addition to the release.
Yeah, I think it's very telling that we all have one thing in common, which is isolation. Just isolate yourself, focus on you, and then whatever you need to do in that isolation, you're not going to hurt anybody when you're by yourself. If you're, I'm angry in the gym, I'm yelling, I'm cussing, I'm slamming the weight, I've got my loud ass music. Nobody's getting hurt. In fact, I turn that rage.
I assume you don't go to Planet Fitness.
No.
They have the lump alarm.
Yeah,
sounds like you would just trigger that immediately.
Yeah.
You'd be escorted out by very, very nice people. But
yeah, last time I went. Back. Yeah, last time I went, I set off the lunk alarm because I was wearing a tank top. And they're like, sir, you're a little... Basically, it was like, you're a little too athletic for our clientele. They feel very intimidated. I'm like, all right, holla.
So, I don't know. I think there's a lot of ways, though, that you can sort of come down. For me, other people are the real key. And these are sort of like the physical ways to get rid of the immediate problem. But the longer term like stings of things... If we're just talking about a breaking point as far as like a flare-up of anger and a release from that, I think athletics are great. But I think as far as like dealing with something that's like nagging on you and even something that's not going to go away, I find other people to be the best for me.
Oh, absolutely. And that was what I was going to say is through that therapy, I realized that my tools for dealing with, what's the word I'm looking for? I guess just conflict in your life with anything, whether it be job, any kind of adversity, my tools for dealing with it, they were actually pretty good. It was when something happened that pissed me off. That's when I just threw that whole toolbox out, as my counselor would say. Like you have to have the tools in your toolbox to deal with something. You can't hammer in a nail if you don't have a hammer. Like you might use a rock or your hand, but you're going to mess something up. If you don't have the tool, you have to acquire that tool. And so as you develop those things, to get past those moments where your tools aren't working, you need to have an outlet. And that became weightlifting for me.
Totally.
That's great. By the way, your message got deleted in the chat room, Guy. That's hilarious.
Oops.
Whatever you did in there, you got in trouble. Anyway, that's a chat.
What happened?
Who knows? That's sorry, off topic. People listening won't even understand what happened. Chat room drama.
Oh my goodness.
So I think that's amazing, Bubby, and I really appreciate you sharing. I think, for me, I don't know if you guys experience this, and this needs to be more quick on the answer side, but feel free to jump in with something quick, is that sometimes I feel like my mother's used the expression, I think it's giving, what is it? You can't take blood from a stone or one of those things, or water from a stone. I don't know the expression. I fuck every expression up. I don't really know how to use expressions.
Well, you can't get water or blood from.
Fair enough. So, but like when I feel like too many people are coming to me for help, or too many people are requiring things that aren't replenishing me at all, I start to feel that sort of like I'm going to flip out. Because I can feel them needing... No, not manipulated. No. Meaning that like... Because I take on other people's problems. And I know I know Guy does this too. Right? And I bet you Austin does it as well. You know what I'm saying? I think that like people who take on too many other people's... emotions sometimes, or their problems, get to a breaking point where they need to have less of other people, like they need to be able to turn them off because they can't.
That's the servant mentality, where you want to serve your friends in a way that you need to be served at times, and if you don't have that friend who is there when you need to go to them, you end up feeling like because my mom had the same thing. She talked about not having enough jam for the bread. You've spread yourself so thin.
Exactly.
You basically lose yourself.
Right.
And you hit that breaking point. And if you don't have that friend to go to, that's when you snap.
But even without that friend, what I'm saying is sometimes you need to, even if other people need you, you need to not respond to them.
For sure.
You can't. At that moment, you can't be there for them because there's not enough of you left.
Absolutely.
Like, and I think that's like knowing your limits so that you don't break are very important. Because I'm sorry, just let me finish that. I've had situations where, my father's in the hospital. This person's got a major problem. That kid needs to be fucking mentored over something that he probably should take care of himself. That person really is sad about this thing. I had a kid the other day. I'm not going to go into his name, and if you're watching this or listening to this, I hope you don't take offense to this. He was he was so depressed, and when he was posting online, I'm like, oh shit, this guy may kill himself. And I'm like, I don't know him that well, but my heart went out to him, and I wrote the best possible thing that I could, knowing that I couldn't, if he were to reach out, have an hour-long conversation. Because I had too much other stress, and even though his life was on the line, potentially, I just couldn't handle it. And that's a hard moment for me, because you just don't have the resources for everybody. And I wish I did. I made a whole video about this. I said I wish I could help everybody, and I was in tears because at the time my mother was sick and all these things, and I was so beaten up from every angle that if I gave one more emotional ounce, I was going to cut everybody off. And that's just, and that kid, he's fine, and I wrote a message say please call hotline if you could, and he's fine, and I wish him the best because he's got a good heart, he's been here before. So but sometimes you just got to know your own limits, because you will break. If you're too nice or too giving, and even without the other friends, support systems, there's only so much you can do. You can't solve all the world's problems.
Right.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'd like to, if you don't mind, I'm going to conclude this in a second. I just had a few more things to say. So thank you guys here for all the contributions to this amazing chat. But I just wanted to add a few things. Hope you guys agree. Which is, I think that there's many times in my life where I feel like I've hit the breaking point. I'm done. I'm not going to survive this next thing. There's been too many things on my plate, too many things on my shoulder, and I just can't do it. And I'd like to say that those moments are sometimes not breaking points. It's just the perception of a breaking point. Those moments are actually, I'd call them like faking points. They're not real. They're just me feeling so much weight on me that I feel uncomfortable. And I've kind of turned that uncomfortable feeling into I'm done. Like that weight cannot be bore anymore by me.
Right.
But the truth of the matter is, I don't know the reserves that I have. And that moment is not a breaking point. It just feels like one. It's more of a testing point to see what other weight that I can carry. And when I can recognize that I'm not finished, and I can wake up and say, oh, wait a minute, I got this. I can solve that financial problem, or I can look in the past and say, I've been through this before. I beat it before, I can beat it again. Yep. This is just a repeating pattern for me. And that sort of non-breaking point, that faking point, was just a way for me to sort of figure out more about myself. And in some ways, maybe, just maybe, that breaking point was actually a breakthrough point so that I could do bigger and better things with my life.
Good call. Yeah.
So I see...
Okay, Bob, you want that? You gave my that was my big speech, so forgive me. Please add whatever you
that
like.
was really good.
Thank you. Sorry,
that was good. So I was actually about to say almost exactly what Danny said, where new experiences and fear of the unknown, like those breaking points where you're pushed to a place that you've never been. It's usually more familiar than you think. Like you said, like as you're in, you're like, wait a minute, I've been here before. You're kind of stepping into a dark room, but most of the time you find the floor is still there and you're going to be okay. And that's the scary part. But then also I would say, like, I've taken on new careers and I'm not stepping into a dark room. I'm stepping into a very well lit room. And I realize the room is much bigger than I thought. And I'm equally frightened.
Yeah.
So it's not always, it doesn't have to necessarily be that you're depressed. It could be just a new experience you're learning about. But I like what you said. I think once you're actually there, you realize, like, this is far more familiar than you realize because you just didn't know yet. And once you're there, you can kind of begin to manage it.
I love it. I think that the way we can conclude this amazing, funny, at times silly podcast is to say...
But also poignant.
Poignant, yeah. I'm glad we're all friends. And when the shit hits the fan, together and alone, we got this. We got this.